show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Hey, welcome to today's show. The music cut off soon. I guess we got to fix that. It's kind of funny. This is the first time I used it. Usually use the other one, but Anthony does not like that other sound. So I changed it, and that was the first time we ran it. So it's kind of interesting seeing how
I like it. I like it a lot better.
You like it a lot better? Okay. So today we have a special guest, Mr. Max Jimenez. I'm not going to really do a big intro on him, but his name carries its own weight. So I have my Mr. Anthony and Mr. Max Jimenez here today. We're here live. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. We're here on a lot of different channels, so if you guys have any questions, put it here. We're gonna have a great conversation today.
Awesome.
This is really interesting. I met Max 3 years ago. It's been crazy.
Yeah. What up, fellas? Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Anthony, thank you. Daniel, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on here. I know Daniel's been chasing me down a little bit, not literally, right, but trying to get me on the show, and we're all super busy. And yeah, no, Daniel, you're right. I think we've known each other for a couple of years now, so I really appreciate you all for inviting me and having me on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, let me tell you how I did the invite. I've been watching you on YouTube, man. I'm like, man, this guy knows the shit. So I'm just driving around, listening to your calls and all that stuff, and then I immediately recognized you at the wholesaling live with HBHS. I saw him in the bathroom, and I'm like, dude, we got to get you on a podcast. He's like, is Daniel here? Yeah, let's go get him. So, man, it was pretty cool. It was kind of awkward, but like, man, I had to jump on that.
It happened though, bro. It's we were talking about that backstage, right? Do whatever it takes. People, if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. That's Jim Rome right there for you, by the way.
No, man. Yeah, long time coming, man. We appreciate you being on here. I'm really excited about today.
Nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
One of the craziest things I always like asking, because it's different. It's a different answer for every person. But like, how did you end up in real estate? Because a lot of people, like, some people like fall into it. Some people like, oh, it was the only thing I had to do. And like what's your story of how you got into real estate? Because I know for you, interesting, because you were like a mechanic, right?
I was in construction. Yeah, construction.
Dude, me too.
Yeah. Where are you? Okay, yeah. So I worked as a commercial. We commercial construction, which was the trade was doing plumbing, right? And it was, what was crazy is it was, I've always loved sales and I always love entrepreneurship. And I've shared this story with a lot of people, and they relate sometimes to it, because there's sometimes when you don't have the vehicle, so you don't know what to do, right? You're like, man, I have this drive, I have this passion to do something, I have this passion to own my own business, and I'm good at, at sales. So and so what happens, I came to a point where I didn't know what to do. My stepdad had been doing it for a very long time. So I just said, you know what, let me go take this job to pay the bills, right? And to to pass some time. Well, that turned into 6 years, 5.5 years or whatever. It was like 5 to 6 years, right? That let me go get this job to pay my bills turned about 5 years. And right before I got that job is a friend of mine was already involved in real estate, but I didn't know, like, I just knew it was awesome because it gave him the what is it called? The freedom. Like, the guy didn't work for anybody, and, he obviously did what he wanted, traveled, and he was doing a lot of flips. He was doing some big luxurious flips in the office that I was working in. So that always intrigued me. I just thought, just like everybody else thinks, like, we don't know, we don't know what we don't know, which I need to have the money. I need to have the relationships. I don't know these people. I don't have the money to be doing this, but it always intrigued me. And so this was like around, I want to say, when I went and got that job, because I didn't know what to do anymore. At that time, I was actually selling credit repair. This was the time of the boom, like when people were getting qualified for houses they shouldn't have never gotten qualified, right? So I would go to mortgage companies, and I would do presentations, how we can help their clients remove negative stuff off their files and stuff. So then that obviously that crashed, and I did a couple other gigs, and then I finally said I don't know what to do anymore, so let me go work here for a little while. But that was around between like 2009, 2010, and then in about 2014, that's when the market started to spike up. I don't know if you guys remember that. And so around that time, I reached out to we kept in touch with my friend that was doing real estate, and he got out of it obviously because the crash, just like other people, right? He got wiped out in some things. And he's like, well, he goes, I said, hey, his name was Randy. I said, hey, Randy, you seen the market turning? It's getting better. And he's like, what do you think about us getting into real estate? Now I had the construction background, a little bit more money, more relationships. And so he's like, well, let's do it. He goes, let's see if you can, let's start it. That's what he told me. He's like, start it. I'm like, start what? Yeah. I don't know which way to go. But one thing, Daniel and Anthony, I've always been very resourceful, and I always share this with people. Like throughout my life, bro, I've never lived in one location more than a year throughout all my elementary years. Like from grade third, I would say from third grade to fourth grade to all the way up to eighth grade. Every single year we would move around, bro. So you imagine what that does to someone. You got to adjust. You got to rebuild new friendships. You got to, you know what I mean? So you have to. So I developed that mindset, and that tool came naturally to me because of my environment to be resourceful. So that's what helped me out in the long run. We can get a little bit into that if you like. So then what I did, I'm like, okay, well, initially look for houses that are tore up, right? And I'll go back to him, and I started going on everywhere, right? I went online. I would go to Craigslist because back then in 2014, Craigslist was pretty prevalent. And so, and I would go on Craigslist, and I see these properties. Hey, buy this house as is, like buy it as is, but you got to close in 7 days. And I'm thinking like 7 days. I don't have the money for that. Yeah. So I always share this because I laugh because those were the wholesalers, right? Knowing what I know now, those were the wholesalers that were posting the deals. And so, and again, I wasn't doing it like very intentional at that time. It was more curiosity. Because I didn't know anything. It was just like, let me look for something, and I would go back to them. And the time went by. I didn't do much with it. And in 2015, the entrepreneur bug hit me again. Like, do I really want to continue doing what I'm doing right now, which was a construction job, right? Like, is this what my life's going to be? And there was some certain things that I looked at, and I said, man, I really got to start doing something. I look over at my foreman, which, me and him hit it off really well. And I was like, he was only making, he was making good money, but for the years that I was doing it, I was up there as well too. And I'm like, man, I look at him and I'm like, that's not what I want to be. And so I got really intentional. That's the word I want to use. Got really intentional with how the way I took the way I approached, like finding out more of how I can get into real estate. And so I ended up going all in on the vehicle of real estate because again, entrepreneurship is right? It's huge. The problem with most people is that they got to find the vehicle, right? And I didn't know my vehicle for a very long time. We're talking years, bro. I did yard sales. I wanted to be my own handyman. I sold stuff online, on eBay. I would go buy bulk downtown, and I would make quite a bit of money, resell it. Like so. But then it started back up again, and I just attached to real estate. And what happened was, Daniel, to kind of answer your question here, I just kept going. And my mother-in-law was like, she's like, why don't you, she saw what I was doing. She's like, I see you want to get in real estate. She goes, why don't you call the agent that sold me my house? And I said, all right, let's do it. So at this time, kind of frustrated, nothing's going on, called her up, and she goes, you know what? I'm no longer in your market, so I don't know how I can help you. And I'm like, okay. So then, here, all these roadblocks. And then right before go ahead, brother.
No, I said dead end.
Exactly. And then towards the end of the call, she goes, hey, before I let you go, there is a guy you should look up. This is crazy, bro. She's like, there's a guy you should look up in your market. He does events in his office and all that. And I said, okay, what's his name? She goes, his name is Sean Terry. She said, I'll look him up. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, here we go again. Now I got to go look for another guy. So it's that impatient, right? Things aren't working. And so I didn't do it that night. I wrote the name down, put it away. The next day I come home from work because I used to get out early, right? Go in early, get out early. I looked him up, and then, he was like number one on Google, right? Like he wholesale flip to freedom. And he had his podcast and all that. And so I went on his website and I downloaded the ebook. This was probably early, I would say like around May of 2015. And so I downloaded the ebook, and I can kid you not, my wife can attest to this. I read that ebook like 3 to 5 times, bro. I'm like, what am I reading here? Like, no way. Like, that captured me. What he was saying, how you take, you take the purchase contract A to B, and then he would explain it. You sell it to B to C, and then you make your fee in the middle. And I just kept reading. I'm like, no way. And the next day, when I was so excited, I called my friend. I'm like, Randy, you cannot believe I found this guy. He's here in Phoenix. He said you could do this, you could do X, Y, Z, and host and this and that. And then he's like, is that legit? He's like, you have to own the house. I'm like, not according to him. I'm like, so that's basically how the journey started. And I started going to his meetups, and man, I took off running from there, bro. And there was some challenges, right? Like, it took me 10 months to get my first deal. Me and Daniel, my son, we were all involved. Me and Daniel go and put out bandit signs at 11 o'clock at night on Fridays. My wife and my daughter, they would do the letters for me, put the stamps on. Yeah, bro, we grinded it, and then boom, our first deal hit, and I was like, let's go. And that's how, I went full. I actually jumped. I'll tell you a little bit about that transition before I went full time. But that's, to answer your question, that's how I ended up choosing the vehicle for real estate.
It's always interesting to see like where people come from, because like a lot of people, like it sounds illegal. It sounds illegal, but you don't know what you don't know. And then the other thing is Sean Terry, man. Sean Terry influencing this many people, like it's kind of cool to see where people's like web and how many people it touches and affects down the
100%.
line.
Yeah, 100%. I told we actually had this conversation yesterday. Corey comes from that same tree. Corey Geary, same tree. Like, honestly, I would never say where, like, I would never be proud to say that I learned from Sean Terry, right? Like, he was the guy that taught me about wholesaling and pretty much changed the trajectory of where I was to where I am now. Yep.
That's crazy. We have to figure out archery, because we learned from Jalen White.
Okay, yeah. He came from Sean Terry too.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah.
Awesome,
yeah, he was in the meetups. I work with Jalen White, or not work with him, but I would call him, try to partner up. He was here in my market, and we did a little bit of things here and there, but we never really never push through to get things going. But you're from the Sean Terry tree then.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. He learned from Sean Terry. He was actually he's actually, if you go to Sean Terry's podcast like years ago, like 2018 maybe, he's on there. 18-year-old or 19-year-old kid makes 20 grand in the first check or something like that. So
those ripples go far, man. I think that's something that we pay attention to as well. It's like, if we have this information, you should spread it, right? Because, I see people maybe that I went to high school with on Facebook and stuff, and maybe they're not doing so hot. So like, if you have this information, it's powerful information, like we should, push it out into the environment and see who grasps onto it. I feel like personally responsible. Like, you need to tell somebody.
What's crazy, Anthony, about that is I was at an event in wholesaling. I don't know if you remember that, Daniel, back in 2019 in Houston. And I met this guy, Phil, and he was out of Pennsylvania, and the guy was low key, but he was pretty legit, right? And I met him, and later on I met him at Collective Genius. I didn't know how legit this guy was. I was like, first met him, and so he's like, bro, I follow you on Instagram, and I see the things you're doing. He goes, I also follow Sean Terry, which is crazy, right? We keep talking about this. And I said, so what's your Instagram? And so he gave me his Instagram, bro, and I went, and he had nothing on there. And I said, you're doing all this, and this is your Instagram. This was back in 2019. And he goes, yeah, Max. He goes, I don't like all that stuff. He goes, I don't like the IG and all this. And I said, let me tell you something. He goes, what's that, Max? He was like, where'd you learn from? And then he tells me who he learns from. And were you inspired when you found them? Like, were you following them? So he's like, yeah, man, that's how I was learned. He goes, well, why don't you be that person for the next person coming behind you? And his face kind of was like, he goes, damn. He goes, you got me, bro. He goes, I never thought about it that way. Exactly. I said, since this is the thing, this is why I always tell everybody, those people that think that they don't want to share, they think they need to keep everything private. Like, you learn from somebody that you saw somebody that you eventually looked at, like, be that person to the next person that's coming behind you. And sure enough, bro, he took off and started sharing his journey and blew up.
Dude, that's amazing, man. I love like, spreading that spark. I tell you, for myself, like, I was just learning real estate. I was just learning how to get in the game, but I have a 15-year marketing background, so I got momentum pretty quick.
Nice.
I kind of just knew that if you blow through enough leads, you're gonna get some deals, right?
So, of course, yeah, of course.
Doing was I was just joining all these different Facebook groups, and I was just like commenting, like, "Hey, you should do this. Hey, try this. Hey, you should do this." I was just like helping new people, because I see like a lot of the veterans, or like some of the veterans will like clown on the new people. So I would go to these groups and I would just comment and be like, "Hey, you should try this, do this, do this." And I wasn't trying to get anything back out of it, but people started hitting me on Messenger like, "Hey, I need to do this. Hey, can you walk me through this scenario real quick?" So I'm just helping a bunch of people. And then they're like, "Hey, I got a deal. Can you JV with me?" I'm like, "Well, sure."
Let's do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it started to pay itself back instantly, man. So I kind of caught that vibe. It's like, if you help enough people, then eventually, it pays you back somehow. And that's not why we do it, but that's exactly how it works.
Well, here's the way you got to look at it, bro. Like, when you it's going to be morbid, but when you pass away, you can't, this information, you take it with you, bro. Like, might as well, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be useful to anybody, right? I mean, if obviously you got to train your kids and different mindset and all that, but there's a lot of other people that can be, what's it called? That can use that information and run with it, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I'm a big believer, like you said, right? You help enough people then to get what they want, and eventually, it's gonna come back no matter what, bro. I've seen it happen so many times. I've helped so many people, and they're like, "Max, what can we help you with?" And I'm like, honestly, right now, I don't know, but I can guarantee you there's gonna be something I'm gonna be stuck on, and it happens, right? I call them back. Hey, guess what? Remember last time you and I talked?
You need to cash in that favor.
You need to cash in that favor, bro. But and because they say, "Hey, if you ever anything, reach out." But again, you got to get into that mindset. Like, I can't take this information with me. Might as well just, let it out and help other people to become to their full potential. Right. And that's how you make a legacy. That's how you create your purpose, by doing that.
So one thing I really want to hit on, because I know to the same subject, you do weekly lives, right?
Yeah.
About this.
Yep.
I do. Let's plug the Instagram and the YouTube, man.
Yeah, man. So what I'm doing, I have a show called The Closers Lab, right? So I go on weekly on Thursdays, 10 a.m. Arizona time. 10 a.m. Arizona time. So you can find me on YouTube under Max Jimenez. And then also on my IG, I drop a ton of content that's helpful and useful. If you're coming up, trying to learn how to negotiate, how to talk to sellers, how to talk to just get better overall with your communication when it comes to sales, at Real Max Jimenez. That's my Instagram, at Real Max Jimenez. And then my YouTube channel is Max Jimenez. So I go live every single Thursday, brother. And I'm actually now on my Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group where I do calls as well too. There's a little more private, where we pitch seller finance, where we talk about other things, strategies and all that. But man, I've got people from Canada, the Philippines, all around, like, not just in the country, that have given me feedback outside of the country from how much the Closers Lab has helped them to get better. I actually, I also do a masterclass, and I bring this up because there was a guy in there in this last one that I did, and I asked him, "Hey Rex, how did you hear about me?" He goes, "Max, you're gonna laugh at this." And I'm like, "No, well, tell me." He's like, "This guy I hired," he goes, "in the Philippines," which I just saw right now, the Philippines, right? He goes, "This guy that I hired in the Philippines to do some calls for me, he actually brought you up." And I'm like, "What? Wait a minute." He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, do you know Max Jimenez, like, on the Closers Lab?" And he's like, "No, who is that?" He goes, "You got to watch this guy. He comes on live every Thursday. He does the calls. He tells you how to talk to sellers. Dude, I've been watching him," he goes, "for the past 3 months, and you got to go." And that's how he found out. I was like, wow, that's amazing, bro. How much of an impact, like, and then the stories don't stop there, bro. They just continue, keep going. I had 2 guys from Canada, a couple, and right now we're obviously training some people from Venezuela. So, dude, it's amazing, bro. It's crazy.
Are you, Daniel mentioned something about the Venezuela team. Is that going to be something you're going to offer to the public, or is that just for your company in-house?
No, we are. So it's going to be rolling out. It's called the Closer System. I train them personally twice a week. That's not going to change, because they're going to So I started training them in the beginning of August just to prep them and get them all into shape. And then for the month of December, they ended up locking up 11 contracts. So yeah, bro, it was crazy. Amazing. One thing you have to remember about virtual team members, right? Whether they're in Mexico, whether they're in Venezuela, whether they're in the Philippines, wherever they are, Egypt. So what happens, bro, is that they're not afraid to have that conversation, that difficult conversation, where people here in the States, they get all wrapped up and have that mindset of, I can't ask the seller for a discount or I can't negotiate. For them, it's like, you know what I mean? Pretty firm conversation. I'm sorry?
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. Exactly, brother. It's part of the process. So I love that because I can work with that. Like, and especially my style and the way that I train them, like, this is what you got to ask. Here's how you're going to ask it. And you got to call that out. And they're not afraid to do that, right? They don't have any preconceived notion that basically stops them from like delivering what I just told them to deliver. I actually, it's funny because I laugh sometimes, like when I'm training them, like, okay, here's what you're going to go say. And they'll send me the recording. I'm like, yeah, that's verbatim. I'm like, they didn't deviate from it.
Yeah,
but no, bro, it's amazing. Like the virtual team is starting to crush it. We're just getting started, bro.
So I really want to say something to this because I love Twitter because it gives me, like, I always get a bunch of business stuff.
Right.
And this was tweeted out this morning. It says someone with half your IQ is making 10x as you because you aren't smart enough to doubt themselves.
Woo! Let's go, baby.
And I'm like, this was this conversation right there, because a lot of people, like, they doubt themselves, like, oh, a seller's not going to do that. A seller's not going to do that. And the virtual assistant's like, yeah, I'm going to ask him anyway. It's part of the system.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy, bro. That's amazing. But yeah, we're going to that's rolling out. Our landing page should actually come out today or tomorrow, and then we're going to start providing that service. I'm actually training a couple of them to be coaches as well too. So some of them are advancing pretty quick, and so man, it's going to be incredible. We're about to put a dance industry what we're doing, bro. I'm super excited about it.
Do you have a link for that yet?
Not yet, bro. I know you guys are asking me for all these links. So, but you can text. But here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing. My buddy Daniel, before we got on, he says, Max, what are you doing? Slap me in the head, and he says, we're gonna create this for you. So if you are interested in one of our closer system, text the word closers to 210-972-1842. The word closers to 210-972-1842. And what I'll do is just, send you the information on and send you the link for it. So that way you can start working on your closer system. So, and get you guys some deals, bro.
Let's go.
And, hey, Max, can we touch on this real quick before we bounce to another subject?
Yeah.
Can we talk about like the progression of somebody's real estate career, right? So I feel like a lot of agents, like, they're not exactly marketing focused, right? Like investors are, because we're taught that way.
Yeah.
So can you talk about the progression of your, like, when you're like a one-man army and you're trying to do everything, make all the calls, send all the text messages, do all that stuff, to actually hiring a virtual team member, and how that affects your business, and when it's time to do so as well? Should you do it right from the beginning, or should you already be, closing deals, or how does it, when should somebody engage?
After 4.5, almost 5 years of building teams, myself as well, doing a lot of stuff on my own, there is such a thing of hiring too fast and hiring too slow, right? So there's a balance in between. So how do you balance that? When you're first starting out, obviously you got to generate your own activity, because you either have capital, if you don't have capital, then you got to invest time capital, right? You have capital, which is money, time capital, which is going to require your participation always. And so what happens is that, let's take SMS and cold calling, for example, because maybe you're not in a position to do PPC or anything inbound. So you're going to have to be the one that's going to be cold calling, generating the activity. You're going to have to do the follow-up, and you're going to have to go to the sales appointments, right? Whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person. When is it time to hire? When can you look at where you're at and say, okay, I think it's time to hire? For me personally, this is the way I would hire, and how I still hire even now, right? So if I'm doing the cold calling, I'm doing the follow-up, and I'm also doing the sales appointment, number one, what I got to look at is my cold calling, my prospecting starting to feel, what is it called? Is it starting to lack because I'm doing too many follow-ups and I'm going to too many sales appointments? And what's happening is, because I'm doing that, I'm not prospecting as much anymore, because I'm focusing now on following up with warm, hot leads. And then I'm going to sales appointments where I'm potentially making offers. So if your prospecting is suffering, then it's time for you to hire a cold caller. It's time for you to hire a VA that cold calls. I don't know why people try to hire acquisitions managers first. I think that's an absolute mistake if you don't even know how to do it, right? So then what's the progression, right? You asked me that. The next phase is, okay, now I got a cold caller. They're doing all the prospecting for me. They're sending everything, right? They're sending me, and I always use the baseball analogy. I'll tell you right now. They're now generating activities for me. I'm getting 2 to 5 leads per day now, right? From my cold caller. Now I'm following up, and all I'm doing is I'm focusing on high-level negotiation calls, right? Now what happens is that now you're going to start setting yourself up with appointments and high negotiation calls. If your follow-up is basically again, remember what we said earlier about prospecting? If your follow-up is suffering, right? Because you're going to appointments that are where you're negotiating, making offers, writing contracts, and then you got to go back to follow-up, and you got this big list, but yet you have more appointments to go to. Now it's time to hire a lead manager, right? So you got the cold caller. Dude, I can't tell you enough how much a lead manager changes your business. Because here's why, my baseball analogy, okay? Cold callers will send in everything, right? Those are your on the ground balls, high ball, corner, sliders, right? And you're swinging at everything that's coming in. When you hire a lead manager, what happens is now you're gonna just swing at fastballs down the middle. Do people still strike out with fastballs down the middle? Absolutely. But guess what? They're a little bit higher quality. They're more, they've been vetted twice. And then now you're just focusing on high-level negotiation appointments where you're going out and locking up deals. You're starting to build a team behind you. You got a cold caller, prospecting, generating people just that raise their hand. They're coming into your lead manager. Lead manager says, Max, you got to get to this one. Max, this is it. Let me follow up with this. Don't worry about that. You got to go get this contract. And then next, guess what's the next hire? This is where you're going to transition. If you can't keep up with your sales calls where you're making, now you hire an acquisitions person. And that's basically, that's when you start to now, you're going to have to build systems and processes. Now, you should be doing it from the beginning, right? You should be building your system, which is a mistake that I did, bro. That's why I'm saying this. Like, you got to do it. Most people think because they're on their own, dude, do it on freaking Google Sheets. Like, do it on Google Sheets because you're going to get to a point where you're like, oh, man, I grew. Now what I do, right? And there's always two problems in businesses is you don't have the systems, you have the people, and then you have the systems, and you find out you got the wrong people in place. Believe me, it happened to me, bro. I know. I'm telling you from experience. But that's the breakdown. Is you got to build the team, right? It's too many people try to scale too fast. You got to watch what you're doing, and you got to make sure that you're also staying laser focused. Everything that shines, you got to be careful with it and you got to look at it through a lens of, does it take away from what I'm doing or does it improve upon what I'm doing? Those are the lenses that you want to look at when the shiny objects start to come at you pretty fast, because they will.
Yeah, I think this is the business of shiny objects.
100%.
Yeah.
Does that help? That makes sense? The breakdown of that, bro?
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, that's amazing. I hope if whoever's watching this, I hope you go back and watch the replay and listen to that 2 or 3 times, because you are going to suffer. If you don't follow those steps exactly, you're going to suffer. You try to grow too quick. You don't have the correct people in place. It's going to cost you a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's going to lead to a lot of dead ends. So I always recommend that somebody grab a mentor. You know what I'm saying? If Max is even making himself available, right, or offering these services, and somebody that's at a high level that's still willing to help, I would definitely take advantage of it, because you have people that are at a high level and they're like, I'm just too busy. Can't talk to you. I can't help you. Can't do nothing. So
that's another conversation too, right? Because I think you get to a certain point where you can't scale anymore without actually mentorship, right? We've all had it. I mean, we've all had mentorship. I mean, Daniel's came to our workshop as well. I've paid so much money, right? Like I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for mentorship. But I know as you start now, sometimes you're financially strapped, right? Sometimes, like I said, you either have capital or you have time capital. One of the two, you're going to have to, if you can play with if you have money, man, by all means, speed up your process, hire a mentor right away, fast. But if you don't, then you're going to have to invest, taking action in that time capital, and you're going to have to do pretty much a lot of it.
Yeah, that's what I did in the very beginning, man. When I first started in real estate, I hadn't even got a deal yet, but I was already a marketer. So I started getting leads, and I'm watching all the people on Facebook, and I'm kind of like, this guy specializes in sub-2, this guy specializes in land, this guy's in self-storage. So every time I generated a lead, I would call up that one person that I recognized and said, hey, I got a lead here. So at least they know I did some work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm bringing something to the table.
But you know, one thing I'm learning is not learning. Excuse me. One thing that I've always known is we're in a marketing and sales business, and one thing I've learned is that guys that come in with the background of marketing, like yourself, Forrest Blackburn, who's a friend of mine, very good friend of mine. You guys like thrive in this business because that's what this business is: marketing and sales, right? Marketing and sales. And so a lot of people also make that mistake. You know, the byproduct is real estate, but you're not really buying real estate, right? You're marketing and then you're selling. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, you could trip over a good deal if you do enough marketing.
What's that?
Yeah. You could trip over a good deal.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's you definitely can. So what's Leo say here? What his question?
Leo's question.
He says, Max, I don't see you and Steve Trang doing much together anymore. Why is that? Are y'all still partners? Man, where you been at, Leo? I see you at every event, and you're barely finding this out. No, brother. Me and Steve, we're no longer business partners. As of back in May, we severed, and so we went our own way. So, yeah, I stepped away from that partnership. Go ahead.
I don't think there's any questions in there.
Okay, cool.
I was going to ask you about I asked you this at Wholesaling Live was why is it important to use a sales system in a conversation when we're talking to sellers? Because I really want to dig on this because you're the closer. You're the closer.
Yeah.
Instead of alone.
I appreciate it, man. That's a really important question as far as why do you have to build a sales system, right? There's a famous quote by David Sandler, and he said, "Hey, he goes, when you're with a prospect, right? The prospect always has a system, right? And what happens is that system does not say salesman wins. What that prospect system says is salesman loses. So in essence, what he was saying is that every time that you go and wing it, that you do the meetings by the seat of your pants, where you try to close deals by will and grit, which can give you some results, but it's not scalable, right? It's not something you can maintain and for long term. That's why and here's how I'm going to prove this. That's why the revolving door especially for salespeople and especially in acquisitions for real estate is so high, right? 3 to 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months if you're lucky. So, and what happens is people hire business owners hire people to come in to do sales, give them a script, and they think that that's going to give them success. So I'm a big believer why you need to have a sales system is not to control the conversation, but to orchestrate it, right? You know, when we travel, we have what we call the GPS in our car, right? We get in our car, we pop in the address, and then it takes us to the destination we're going. But what happens during that trip, remember this, right? Especially if you got kids, bro. Like, when you got kids, like they're going to want to stop, right? Dad, stop at the store. Like I got to use the restroom. Right? So, and then you might want to stop and sightseeing, right? But guess what? When you get back in the car, what's that GPS? Where's it going? The same destination. It doesn't change. So this is why it's important to have that sales system, because what I can tell you, especially our industry specific, our prospects are the sellers, right? The quote unquote motivated seller is they're going to be providing information based on what they heard, what they see. There's nothing really that's their system, right? And it's all defense mechanism. And if you don't have a system to overcome that system, then you're going to get trapped and fall into that. And you're not going to have success to be able to repeat continuous, wins and getting deals, right? You ask someone that says, how did you get that deal? I don't even know.
Luck.
I was like, how did you get that deal, man? How was it? Like, I don't know. They just said, yes, Max. Not repeatable, right? So that's why it's very crucial and important. So that way, again, orchestrate the conversation. I've had people always tell me, like, Max, how do you control the calls? I'm like, that you're already in the wrong mindset. I don't want to control the phone. I don't want to control the call. What I want to do is orchestrate it. So that way, when I'm doing the calls, I want to get them to I already know my destination. right? I already know where I want to go. And again, it comes from experience, right? Based on what the prospect tells me, because I have a system that I can put them through. Okay, is this prospect engaged? Is this prospect answering questions? The statements that this prospect is making sounds more like they're just looking for a number. What this prospect just told me, I'm not going to continue the call. I'm ending the call right now. Why am I able to do that? Because I have a system that tells me what I need to look for.
Yeah, I love the sales system because it's a way to get repeatable results.
And there you go. Rinse and repeat. Exactly.
It's so crazy. It doesn't even make sense at some points, but it's like you want to get repeatable results. You got to put somebody through the same process and get similar results that we can create a process around.
Yeah, exactly, man.
One thing I really want to talk about that I learned through you guys was not making an offer. And
that's tough, huh?
I want to talk about this because a lot of people some people should I make an offer? Should I make an offer? Am I shooting in the dark? And I like hearing your position on this, and I want to have this conversation about why or why not to make an offer, and when do you make an offer at that point?
I gotta hear this because as a rule of thumb, it's always always make the offer.
Yeah, no. Look, I get it, man. There's been successful businesses where they have, where they have the key performance indicator of making 25 offers a day, right? 30 offers a day. My problem with that is going back to what I said earlier, is that the reason why I don't follow that key performance indicator, I'm more about conversations, right? Because the conversation is going to allow me to find out if this person deserves an offer. That's more what I like to hit on. That's my high level is. And a conversation for me is I'm uncovering motive, I'm uncovering timeline, right? And then I'm discovering if anyone else is involved. And then potentially once I have those three things, I'm going to make that offer. But going back to what I was saying about having the key performance indicators of making X amount of offers per day, I don't think it does anything good for anyone, but besides probably bring you down. Because you're like, dang, I made 60 offers today and I haven't gotten anything. Right? Like, what am I doing here? And that's the problem that I have. That's the only aspect I have it. Now, if you're spending $100K in marketing, and that's fine. But let's be honest, a lot of us on this call right here don't spend $100,000 in marketing. We got to look at every single lead. This is why I don't like the key performance indicator making offers. Every single lead, we got to treat it with gold, right? Because we don't have, a lot of us that are on here don't have that high marketing, spend of 50 to 100,000 where we can, here's, you'll like this. When you do the offer thing, it's like, Anthony, is it's like a slot machine, bro. You put the coin in. Okay, Mr. Seller, you get an offer. Oh, never mind. All right, then you offer. So we don't treat it as a business, bro. We're looking at it as a rush, like a slot machine, right? Now, when it comes to making the offer, I got to have those three things, right? Sometimes those sellers, I'm not saying that I don't ever give a number. That's not what I'm here saying. I just don't make it a habit to say, okay, well, I'm going to offer you this, or whatever. Some sellers will put you in a position where they won't continue the call, right, without knowing what you can pay. And there's different spots where that would happen. A lot of times it happens in the beginning. Hey, all I want to know is how much you would pay. That's all I want to know. I don't want to, you guys have called me, you call me. I want to know how much you pay. Always acknowledge what the prospect gives you, right? So one thing I always say in that aspect is like, look, that's fair, Anthony. I get it. Yeah, exactly right. That's what we call. We're looking to buy that property. What I can tell you though, however, is I've never been able to buy a property without asking a few questions. Mm-hmm. Do you mind if I do that? Mm-hmm. Right. And now their mind's kind of thinking here, right? Like, and here's that question that's going to give me two results. Number one, heck no, you tell me your number. All right, perfect. We're done here. That's not my business. Right. Or number two, they're going to say, that makes sense. So what do you need to know? Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. Do you have like 5 to 10 minutes so I can tell you exactly what I need to ask? Getting that advance agreement for them to speak to me. Right. That's the first spot. Most people come out with like, I call it the shotgun approach, right? Make me an offer right now. Boom, right? They hit you like real fast. Like, what do you do? Like, again, if you don't have a system, right, Daniel? We talked about that earlier. If you don't have a system, you're going to probably give them an offer. Oh, hold on, Mr. Seller, let me comp. Right? You start comping the property, and then you say, well, it looks like we can pay between. Okay, perfect. I'll call you tomorrow. I'm not sure if I like that. So who benefited from that? You or the seller?
The seller.
Right?
Yep.
The seller. And now you're like, dang, I did all this work and all this. This is why I have a saying is don't make a move without a commitment. I didn't create that, but I love saying that. Don't make a move without a commitment. Anytime the seller requests for something, I acknowledge it. I'll say I'll get there and I'm going to do it for you, but here's what I need first. So I give them their ask, and then I go to my ask. Now, if we get down in the conversation where we're talking now, I know I'm uncovering a little bit of motive. I know what they want. I know the situation. I know it's affecting them personally. I know that they need to get this done quick, but now they don't know how much they want to get. There's a couple of strategies that you can use, which my favorite strategy is always negotiating from what they owe or what their bottom number is. I don't know why our industry always negotiate. Well, let me see what your property's worth, and then I can tell you how much I can pay. I don't know why we do that. And it's always been, that's how we've been able to get some of the biggest spreads. We've had $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 months, up to $1 million months. We've never were a volume company. We were always about profit. And so the way we did that was to negotiate from what was owed, right? So let's say now, Anthony, I got you pretty much, and now we're getting into the price, right? Like if I ask you, hey, there's typically, Anthony, 3 things that will stop us from working together. Number 1 is time. Number 2 is price. And number 3 is other people. 9 out of 10 times they're going to say price. And we're going to say, all right, perfect. Let's talk about that. Just out of curiosity, Anthony, I'm assuming this property's paid off. You don't owe anything on it. I'm
Correct.
starting right there, bro. I'm not going to what it's owed. Probably 7 out of 10 people are going to say, no, Max, I have a mortgage on this. Okay, got it. So we know we got to take care of that mortgage. I can't make you an offer lower than that. Just off the record ballpark, how much is that mortgage that you need to pay? Well, I don't want to tell you that. Well, and he goes, why are you asking that? Or why is that information relevant? I get it, Anthony. You don't want to give me that information. I just don't want to be embarrassed and make you an offer below that because you're going to hang up on me. Just ballpark. You don't got to be exact.
Dang,
right?
That's good, man.
Yeah. So now you're going to say, all right, Max, I owe about 100,000. Perfect. Okay. So we know we got to give the bank 100,000. The bank's not going to be like, hey, go ahead and keep that. You and I know that. And just we got to pay the bank 100,000. What is that next big thing you're going to write a check to? What's that amount? I mean, what else do you have to pay off? Now we're finding out if they owe cars, credit cards. So let's say they have a car. We got 100,000 mortgage. You tell me I got to pay off my car. Okay, just ballpark. What is the car? What do you owe on the car? 25,000. So now we got 125. If there's nothing else besides that, then my next question is going to be this: okay, Anthony. So we know we got to pay. You got 100,000 on mortgage. You got the $25,000 that you want to pay your car off. What do you need on top of that to make you feel comfortable selling the property? We're negotiating from what is owed and what you want to walk away with. Now, imagine if I would have done, okay, your house is worth this. I need to do this much repairs. I need to be here for profit. Okay, I could pay this. You might say, honestly, Max, if you give me $20,000 and I can pay off my house and my car, I'm good. And it's a $300,000 house, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm a big, I love negotiating from what's owed. And the other thing I want to say, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Fire. That is fire.
Yeah.
That's some
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. It is, bro. And I've used it consistently, bro. I mean, on all my calls, the closers live, you watch it. Like, I don't deviate from this process at all. There are going to be people that say they don't owe anything, by the way, because that's an opportunity for seller finance. But in that case, I would say, okay, so there's no mortgage to take care of. Well, one of the things that I've experienced is usually when people start to think about selling, either the night before, days before, whenever that is, they usually have a number in mind. Anthony, do you mind sharing me what that number is or what you were looking to walk away with? Now we don't deal, right? Now we're going to find that out. Again, I want to find your bottom number, bro. Like that's my goal, not what you think your house is worth. So Carter said, loving this.
Yeah, if you do it the opposite way, if you say, okay, the house is worth 300, but it needs 50 in repairs and all, and you're working down, they already heard 300, so their brain's already up here. But the way you're doing
set that
it,
high number.
Yeah, what do you need to walk away with? You start from the bottom, and so they're looking up. They're not directly.
Because here's the thing, bro. Here's why I do it this way. Is we do this depending on your marketing, depending on your business, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 times a month. Sellers do this once or twice in their life. Think about that.
Wow.
So what happens is that the number they think that they want is not really the number that they need. That makes sense? The number they think that they want is usually a smoke and mirrors, a defense mechanism, because you're coming in as, you know, a person, somebody experienced, right? Someone that does this. They're over here on their own, right? Like this is the house they lived in for 15, 20 years. Guys, I don't know why people have a hard time to kind of grasping that, right? Like that's why people don't realize what they want is not really that number. It's what they actually need to walk away with, right? Now, can those numbers be equal? Yeah, of course, right? Maybe they have a high mortgage and, you know, they have stuff to pay, and you're going to be at that number, right? You're going to be at that number that they're requesting. Third thing on this will be the last thing for the offer, is if someone says, I don't know, make me an offer, right? Like, what do you think you can pay for this property? So what I'll do then is I'll have my MAO, which is the max allowable offer, right? If I know my max allowable offer is going to be 200,000, here's the way I'm going to anchor them. If they absolutely need to get a number from me, I'm going to say, you know what, Anthony? Well, let's pretend this. I'm not saying I can, but let's pretend if someone was to make you an offer between 175 to 185, what would happen next if it was net to you, no money out of pocket? I know my MAO is 200. I'm going to go lower than that. I'm going to anchor it between 175 to 185, right? That's how I'm making the offer. I never give sellers a hard offer. I always try to figure out what their number, because guess what? They're going to feel like they made the decision. They came up with the number. And that's how I'm able to get around people who actually want an offer from me, is if I know my MAO is 200,000, I'm going to go down 20 to 25. And if, let's pretend they say, well, I can't do 175, but if you gave me 190, I mean, I would sell to you, right? Now I'm $10,000 lower than what my MAO initially would be. So again, that's how I'm able to get around the part of somebody like wanting a number from me. Like, I need this number. And notice how I said that. And notice how I said that, Daniel and Anthony, is, hey, I'm not saying I can pay this. Got to check with my underwriting team. But let's pretend someone was to give you an offer between 175 to 185. What happens next? And I stay quiet, like bite your lip. Oh.
Yeah, that's super strong, dude. And then also giving them a lower range. Yeah. Right. So your range is like, I'm not giving you a solid number, and I'm also not promising you the money. That's another huge thing in sales.
Yeah. You ready for this?
They want, yeah.
So if they say, oh no, absolutely, I would never sell. So what were you hoping I would say? Right. So that's going to now give me their number of what they were thinking. Yeah, like, oh, absolutely. I'm not saying I could pay that. So, but just out of curiosity, what were you hoping to get for it?
Well, one of the coolest things I love about this the sales strategy, and like I said, I told Anthony about this when I first went through it, was that you always blame the imaginary person next door, or the imaginary person that's always like, oh, the guy down the street, he'd probably give you 150. Yeah. I'm not that guy though.
Yeah, always, brother, always. Even internally, like, you know, I'm not the one that's actually always that comes up with the number. Never. Like, hey, I got to talk to my partner. Or now lately we've been using underwriter because we're doing a lot more seller finance deals. And then what I always tell them is this, like, hey, I'm going to go talk to let me put you on hold. Or maybe if I set up a call back, I got to talk to my underwriter. It just depends on how the call goes. Going to look at it with them. And then basically, you know, see if we're able to meet that or potentially pay what you're asking. And then what I tell them is, and then I get commitment, right? Before I get off the phone or before I put them on hold, as I always say, okay, so I'm going to go talk to them. So let's pretend I talk to them and they're able to do what you're asking on the price. And I know it's a good deal. What's going to happen next? I get commitment, right? I get commitment for them to say, well, if you guys can do that, I'm definitely, I want to sell to you guys because that's what I'm asking. Okay, perfect. Now, if we come back a little bit, and this is for set up a callback, right? Not on the same call. So so we can do the 150. It sounds like you would feel comfortable putting things in writing. And they're like, yeah, that's what okay, perfect. Now we have an understanding. I just want to make sure we all understand what's going to happen on this next phone call. However, Anthony, if he comes back under 150, you know, any offer under 150, I don't give him a number. Notice that. If my underwriter team says we can't do the 150 and they have another number in mind, would you like me to call you back? Ooh, I'm getting that up front. Right? They don't have a number. They don't have a number. Right? They don't know what that number is going to be. I just said another offer. That was it. Right? Would you like? No, yeah, of course. Well, you know, as long as it's not lower. Like yesterday, I had a guy. He wanted 35 and he dropped it to like 20. Just on that question alone, he was like, "Yeah, as long as it doesn't come back lower than 20." And I'm like, okay.
21.5.
From 35, bro, from 35 to 20. And I'm like, me and Ryan were looking at each other like, whoa, like,
I'll take it.
yeah.
Dude, that's super strong, man. I appreciate all those bars, man. That's good stuff. And that's something that you can't learn again by not, you got to have a mentor. You got to have somebody you're working with, somebody that's been doing this a lot longer than you, and it'll save. So whatever you spend on that mentor, on that that partnership, whatever, it's going to advance you in years. It's going to save you time, and it's going to save you money. So we've covered like systems. When is it time to hire a team to help you grow, like maybe a VA?
Yeah, let me add something to that because I do have a masterclass that it's very intimate. I don't allow more than 20 people in that masterclass. And what I always tell them is like, what I charge compared to what I paid is like, it's peanuts, bro, right? To where they go through this, and it's a 3-week masterclass. Like, it's not a 1-day workshop. It's a 3-week masterclass where they get to basically get to see the whole system. And they have access to me. They have access to me to book a Zoom call, help them, develop the system, put it in play, and potentially help them to get what is it called? On a phone call with them. So I always tell them, like, you guys, what I paid, like, it's not even close. Like, we're talking about 20-30x of what I charge, right? For
plus all your experience that you built on top of
plus the experience. Exactly. So Leo what does Leo say? How much, Mac? It's $11.99 for 3 weeks. Yeah. So it's not that high. So, and then you get to spend 3 weeks with me. Obviously it's not the full 3 weeks every day, but it's every Wednesday. So basically, like, the next one is October 26th, and we spend about 2.5 hours. We almost go 3 hours. And then basically once it starts, you have access to me, and the next Wednesday we meet again, because this allows Daniel, you've been to the workshops before, and the questions don't happen at the workshop. Like, they happen after, right? And so I figured, like, that was one thing I wanted to correct is I wanted to make sure that I'm there with you to ask questions, to ask basically anything that you need help with. Plus, I revamped my script. Our script is like 5 pages long now, Daniel. Mine, anyways. My script, yeah, bro. So it breaks everything I just told you guys right now is in that script, the one I provide.
Yeah. Again, guys, if you're watching this, just for him even offering to help and to give up some of his time, his time given doesn't compensate the amount of money that you're paying. So I hope people take advantage of that. You see the value in it, and once you learn these skills that he just covered right now, because I've been in sales for 20 years, and he just taught me some stuff today on this call. So I can't imagine what else you have back in your toolbox, man. So I'll say this: the first person to sign up for Max's masterclass, HiveMind will give you $250 towards your
nice. There we go. Let's do it.
The very first person that signs up, guys. So jump on that, take advantage of it. And then I see we're getting pretty close to the time, man. We got about 8.5 minutes left. I wanted to ask you real quick now if we can get into maybe a little bit more kind of advanced real estate investors. Mm-hmm. What are you doing now to navigate the coming storm, right? Because everybody's like, buy, save your money, get ready to buy. So tell us how you're pivoting into the storm.
Yeah, we're in a unique position right now, right? I think, one thing, I went to an event, I want to say 3 weeks ago, and in this specific event, what happened is they had it before, a couple months before, right before the market started to shift. And I spoke on that event. They gave me I wasn't going to speak, and they gave me 5 minutes. And I just said, hey, how many of us understand, or how many of us know that there's something going on in the market, right? Bro, there's 600 people there, and only 8 people raised their hand.
Oh, no.
And I said, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. See, and I said, wow. I had the microphone wow, 8 people only raised their hand. That's literally what I said, bro. And I said, you guys got to be kidding me. I said, everybody in this room should raise their hand. Everyone. And I said, for you guys that didn't raise your hand, I'm going to tell you, if you don't pay attention, half of you are not going to be, or more, not going to be here anymore. And you're going to be working it back at your regular jobs. That's what I told them. But let me help you. Then I gave them some tips of how to help them. Fast forward to the same event, right? It always got filled up. This was probably 3 weeks ago, bro. It was literally empty, bro. He didn't have half the crowd that was there the last time. So going back to your point, we're in some interesting times, and there's 2 types of people right now in this market. They're the ones who came up in the They're the ones who came up in the prosperity time, which was right after COVID, Daniel, right? This is when the big boom, right? Everything blew up. And you had all these people, like the amount of agents that were registered skyrocketed, right? The amount of wholesalers that showed up on the scene and to meetups and all that skyrocketed because, but they never learned new skills. It was like you can throw a rock and you can definitely, get a deal and you can sell it the same way. But that's changed, right? You can't do that anymore. Like, hey, just lock it up. We'll sell it to, whoever. They'll buy it for 90% of ARV. So going back, isn't that crazy how the event story, like how that happened?
Yeah. It shows that the times are changing, and like the agents and like mortgage brokers are all crying right now because like they can't find and do any deals, and they have to actually do marketing.
Yeah, exactly. So we pivoted a long time ago, brother. We basically, what we started doing is we started helping other investors through. So basically, we started ramping up our JV nationwide JV partnerships. And so right now, I can tell you that was the first thing we did, right? So what we started doing is we're currently working right now with investors nationwide. So on a slow day, we're looking at about 3 to 5 deals. On a very busy day, we look at about 8 to 10 deals, right? So that was the first thing we did is we started collaborating more. That's the other thing is that you have to collaborate a lot more in order to survive. Like guys with Leo, guys like you guys, like Daniel, Anthony, collaboration is key. It's always been key, but never more than right now. And the other thing too is that we've done this, but not to a scale where we're doing it now, is creative financing, right? Where seller finance. I think Rafael made a point there about seller financing. It's not longer that you must do it. You need to do it to survive. Like it needs to be in your arsenal. Seller financing, sub 2. It has you got to be able to know how to. And again, you don't need to know everything. You just got to be coached by the right people, right? Because that's where right now this and why I said my point about we're in a unique situation. So, some of us that know and understand how we're shifting and pivoting. These times right here is where like the wealth transfer starts to happen, right? You've heard that talk, like you've heard people conversate on this. But if you don't know what to do, you're not going to be able to be part of that. So you need to develop new skills, such as understanding seller finance, understanding subject to, understanding how to pivot. You're going to need to develop new skills, and that's how we've been able to pivot. Is first collaboration a lot higher. And then that's just on the outside. On the back end, I'm almost again with the VAs. I'm actually helping a couple guys like Stratton, Stratton Brown, Vic Areda. There's a couple of guys out there that I'm actually working with to help them with some of their leads as well too, to be able to negotiate. So that's again collaboration, right? Direct to seller stuff, not just joint venture. But the biggest pivot right now, what I'm seeing in order to survive this is you have to be able to put creative finance into your arsenal.
Yeah, me and Anthony talk about this all the time. Is as the interest rates went up, it made it creative finance like the go-to strategies because people
100%.
They're anchored at their number, what their price point is, and like okay, well, seller finance it to me, sub 2 or complete seller finance.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly, man. Go ahead.
It creates a lot of opportunity, especially right now.
Yeah, 100%. That's honestly, that's really everything that's coming down the pipe right now. I'm seeing everything as creative finance. Like there's no, I'm almost like putting creative finance first and then innovation second and then wholesale third almost now. I'm not even looking at the deal as a wholesale deal. Can my question right away to our JV partners is, will the sellers give us time? That's all I want to know. Will the seller give us time? And I'm learning that from my coach, which is Mike Termini, right? Cash Money Mike. And that's the way he's teaching us. Like, just if the seller gives us time, which is the time to pay whatever they want off, now we can structure a deal, right? Whatever that is, if it's seller finance or subject to. So every deal that comes in, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at it through the lens of, can we get creative on this because of everything, right? Like, you got hard money lenders pulling out. I mean, I'm hearing stories like we actually had a deal. I want to say last month, two hard money lenders pulled out of that deal, and then the third one finally ended up funding. But that's happening too. Is we're seeing that some of these hard money lenders are no longer lending the flippers. So it's not the flippers are getting like, man, they're getting like crushed right now. Yep. In this market.
Yeah, I think we did the same thing you did, man. When we first started in real estate, it's like we started with creative because we didn't have the funds to buy anything. So we were doing creative before it was cool. And I started I've been talking about that on the calls. I'm like, our first offer has always been creative.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's just, like I said, just dumb luck, I guess.
Yeah.
Not having the cash on hand.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm doing too is, guys, I'm looking at obviously working with Mike, is I'm actually starting to look at units between 6 to 20 units. It's kind of a sweet spot. It's a sweet spot to where people beginners don't dive into, but also the big boys don't want to play in, right? The big boys want 50 units and higher, right? 100 units, which is and here's the great thing about it is that between the 6 and 20 unit multifamily apartments, you still have slumlords in there. You still have guys that collect rents cash. You still have a lot of pain. There's not a lot of corporate structure in that area. So there's a lot of great opportunity within that spot that we're going to go after.
What states?
That I don't know yet. I'm going to start in my back. I'm going to start here first because I got to get a grasp to it. Yeah, I need to understand it. I need to touch it, feel it, look at it, right? Before I decide to do this model virtual, because it's a whole nother ball game, right? And I don't want to be doing a lot of flying. You got to go out and see these properties. You have to walk them. There's more intel that you got to gather and all that. So my goal is to start here. This is where I want to start first. Yeah. And it's not just Phoenix. I can go to Tucson, which is a market south from here. But definitely I want to focus on that because I think there's a huge opportunity right now for that, especially the way with seller finance and structure. And who better else to understand, seller finance than an actual, landlord, right? People will get money, cash flow every month.
Yep.
No, we're doing the same thing, man. So we're doing a large scale farm and ranch property. So we only do land. We don't do any other asset class.
Nice.
And yeah, we're getting really, really good at Texas. We're locking up a lot of big contracts right around San Antonio. That's where I am.
Wow.
But now we're looking to expand into other states. But yeah, you want to get really, really good at your backyard. So Leo's asking, what is it going to take to partner with you? So it sounds like to join your mastermind intensive for about $1,200. Hive Mind will pay $250 for the first person that signs up. What about if somebody has a really good deal they want to bring you? Can they partner with you that way?
Yeah, definitely. They can shoot me a message through DM. Definitely at Real Max Jimenez. Shoot me a message. I answer all my personal DMs. I don't have an assistant that does it. I still do it myself. I'll call people, bro. I'll hit them. Let's see if you're real, and I'll call them. They're like, "Oh, man, Max, what?"
I'm telling you guys right now because I have messaged some of the gurus, and it's like a bot. Like, hey, get on his calendar, And so if Max is still willing to talk to you guys right now, I promise you, please jump on this opportunity. Yeah. It's going to be sick.
I'm going there just a little bit, bro, because I'm being things are coming super fast and I need to, but I still love, dude, I have passion for this. This is, again, this is what drives me, and I love giving back and I love helping people. And I surround myself with people that are like-minded as well too. So Leo says I'm a talker, man. Leo's got my phone number. He never sends me a text. I'm calling you out, Leo.
Got you, Leo.
So, what is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with? I know you said a few in this conversation, but what's your go-to quote?
It's what's in my bio, bro. It's Jim Rohn, right? It says, if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. And I actually would put that on our onboarding docs right at the bottom. And obviously when I was in my previous partnership, he was like, dude, he would just nod his head like, I can't be. It's true. If you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse, right? That's really what it comes down to. It's from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was, to this day, right? Obviously, he passed a while back, but he's definitely somebody that I consider a high level mentor for me. It's just, he's amazing, bro. Like some of the stuff it's very very relatable even now, even though it was in the 80s and 70s. Very applicable, very relevant. Excuse me. Yeah, very relevant. And it's amazing that quote always stood out to me just because of my background, who I was. I knew if I wanted to do something, I was going to do whatever it takes, right, to get it done. Even some things probably that put me in a risk a little bit, but I still did it, right? Which is the other thing is, that's always been my favorite quote from Jim Rohn is in that one said, I have it in my bio. I put it on our onboarding docs. Says, if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse for it, which is true.
Dude, that is beautiful, man. I love that quote. That's my new favorite quote. I'm gonna get it tatted right here below both my eyes.
No, you know what I hear jokes. So I would say like I'm gonna get it tatted. So when I'm gonna show you where. So when someone comes in and starts like maybe making an excuse or something, I'll just go like this, bro. I'm gonna put it right here.
Yeah.
So they can't see my face. It's just gonna be like, okay, you read that? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that is dope. Yeah, because I feel like that too. Like we do help a lot of people. We train a lot of people. We have some paid training. We do a lot of free training, coaching for people.
Right.
And then you'll see the people that really want it. I mean, you'll see them. They're sending leads. They're doing. They're putting in the work. You could feel it. You could feel the pressure. They're texting you, messaging you. Like that person is working. Where somebody else is like, oh, it's because I've been working a lot. And like, man, do the work or don't do the work. Don't be in the middle.
That's funny, man. It's true though, man. It's true. Again, going back to originally talking about the VAs, the preconceived notions and the what's that other word that's used a lot right now is I like what is it called? That attitude of I deserve. What's that?
Bias?
No, not the bias, but that attitude like I deserve this. I don't need to work hard for it, right? Like they don't have that. That's what I'm saying. That's why they're getting entitlement. Yes, excuse me. That's the word I was looking for, and that's pretty prevalent right now going on. So that's the difference from somebody who has a position that they are actually grateful for, and they do it with pride, and they do it with with all effort up front.
Dude, I just found out about you that you were in construction, and I grew up in construction. I did 20 years of construction. Like I can build.
Wow.
I can build a marble shower as big as a bedroom, and do the dry.
Nice.
Lay in the liner, tie in the drain, everything, and like I had to
right.
literally cut my hands and my knees to make $1,000, $2,000 in a week. And now what we're doing, pushing with paper. And so if somebody has excuses with this business, like man, get out of here. Like go construction or something.
You know what's funny about that is not only that, but I remember like from my teenage years to up to like 21 when I met my wife, 22 saved my life. I remember like, dude, all the stupid stuff I did, and I'm gonna be scared to make a phone call, like plus all the things that I've been through, like yeah, like this is not hard. And you're right, like waking up at 3:30 a.m. in summertime, right, to start work at 4:30 or 4 or 5 o'clock or whatever, right, and then having to do that, and it's dude, try to be in a ditch when it's 115 degrees weather, right, like. That ain't fun, bro. That's hard work. That's really hard.
I'm mixing cement, carrying boxes of tile, bags of thin set, 5-gallon buckets of water, one in each.
Oh yeah, and then you carry the bag and it just rips all over
you. Dude, and in these brand new houses or brand new buildings that don't have air conditioning, right? So I'm in a sauna, right, doing concrete and mud work, carrying these heavy things, hurting my back just to make $1,000.
Yep.
Right. So if you have excuses,
bro.
I know. You can't send text messages. You can't jump on a phone call. Like, get out of here. Yeah, you're done. Get out.
Yeah, you don't have it.
Yeah, you should just...
you don't have it. Exactly.
It's sad to say, but golly, man. This is America, bro.
I love it. I know.
Well, I
love it. I love it.
This has been a great conversation. Like we covered a lot of different things. Definitely take some notes somewhere in the middle. If you need to go back and rewind it or watch it again, definitely go watch it again because those so many like good gems dropped on this, which is why like Anthony's like a closer, but I knew I had to have like the one thing about like talking to high level people is you always can learn something from somebody else because they always have some nugget. And like even Anthony's my closer, so I'm like, Anthony, you need to be on this call.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man.
Number again to text the phone number so you can text.
Closers to 210-972-1842.
Yeah, Max even mentioned right now that he has a closing window of opportunity that it's going to be it's going to be harder and harder to get a hold of him in the future, things moving forward as he continues to scale. So take advantage of it while you can. Yeah,
no, 100%. I appreciate that, man. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. I love that. I love talking today to you guys. I think, it's always great to give back. And obviously, again, like I told you guys before we started, I don't hold anything back. I just love giving back. That's my drive. It's my passion. And I like to surround myself with people like that too.
Yeah, man, we know how valuable your time has been, so we super appreciate you spending some with us.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.onelistguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.
Of course, man.
Go follow
Appreciate
Real
it.
Max Jimenez and the closing
Yes,
last
go to IG, follow him.
Yeah, check
Follow
him
that
out
guy.
check him out on IG, and then check out his YouTube, man. When he goes live, I'm telling you, if you're just driving around and you're not a reader, you're not doing anything else, throw on his YouTube and all that while you're listening to him close these deals. It'll blow your mind. You'll learn a lot for sure.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for that. Shout out.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Go check us out on the next episode on the Hive is hivewithus.com. There you go. Have a great day, guys. Bye.